Might be getting in too late on this one, but always a favorite of mine that left me and 4 of my friends scared shitless huddled in a Durango. A few years back, me and a group of high school friends decide to go camping, me and 4 others. First 2 nights we set up camping at a relatively popular camping location, and things go off without a hitch. The night before we leave, we manage to lay down to sleep around 11 p.m. at night. As me and a buddy talk, we hear a random loud yell. Us, being dumb high school kids, assumed it was other dumb high school kids, fucking around, and we have a hearty chuckle. About a minute later, I sit up, thinking I hear another noise, only to hear more, higher-pitched screaming. At this point, color me curious, so I keep listening, and get my friend to listen as well, at which point I can finally make out what was being yelled. Someone was screaming out, "Help me." Immediately this went from hunky-dory camping trip to what I could only see as an impending teen horror flick or Deliverance-style happening. I immediately try and decipher what's happening when the next noise I hear is the unmistakable sound of a gunshot. It is at this point I jump up, and begin to wake up my friends, apparently sack-tapping one in the process, lol. I get them to listen in as well to make sure I wasn't just fucking crazy, when the yelling gets louder, and then a much louder gunshot is heard. I, being the sensible individual I am, decide on the course of action of, fuck this shit, I'm out. I threw on my shoes, told everyone we were going to hastily GTFO, and went for the car. Once again, genius ideas strike, and we decide to go to another campsite to see if they heard it as well. We subsequently forgot that 5 guys walking up to a campsite at 12 o'clock at night might be a bit shady, at which point I realized one of the other campers had an axe in his hand, ready to Jack Nicholson my shit up. We told them where we were, not thinking that through an M. Night Shyamalan ding-dong twist they could have been murderers gasp, and promptly left, finding reception and calling the cops. Once the cops arrived, they took about 2 minutes to look, realized they weren't finding shit, and told us to go back to sleep. Fuck you, buddy. When I was 17 I went off to university in a city on the other side of the country and I'm housed in student apartments. Rather than a cinderblock maze like most places, these are 3-bedroom self-contained apartments built inside those sort of late 19th century townhouses. The kind where there's a basement flat below street level but with a 6-foot gap between the building and street and a walkway between the two on the ground floor. The windows for the basement flat are in this gap. Anyway, these things are a little bit out of the way of the university and it's where they usually house most of the foreign exchange students, but somehow I end up living there in the basement with 2 much older foreign dudes that are rarely there and don't speak much English. It's the middle of winter and I've been in all afternoon. I haven't seen the other guys all day and didn't think they were in. It gets to about 6 p.m. I go from my room to the kitchen to make something to eat and I hear voices coming from one dude's room. The window for this room is under that walkway I mentioned, so you can't see it from the street, and I think my flatmates must have gotten home and they're talking. Get food, hear more talking and go back into my room and I get a text from my flatmate asking if we have milk left or something like that, so I text him back wondering why he's texting me from across the hall. Turns out he's not in and our other flatmate is with him. Bricks are shat. I booked it out of there and called the police pronto, eventually find out that the window under the walkway had been forced open and all my Spanish roommate's stuff had been stolen by someone who managed to squeeze through a 6-inch gap. This is in Scotland, so it's most likely heroin junkies. I found out a few days later from the senior resident that the exact same room had been broken into at the same time of year the year before. I slept with a knife duct taped to a broom handle for the next month.